My name's Sideshow. I'm here with some over.gg coverage of MLG Vegas, and today I'm interviewing Complexity's harbleu, or harbleu as people.
I don't think
No,
so.
that's not correct.
No, harbleu.
Harbleu. It's been like that for years and years. So
Yeah, it's been a common misconception. People ask if I'm from like France or something. It's like, nope, just funny word.
okay, so you guys are going into Vegas, and you've had a bit of a like a hurdle that you've had to pass of not of your own making at the beginning of this. So that's envious and Taimu not being able to make it. So why don't you just run us through like the basics of what that means for you guys and for envious in this tournament at the moment?
Sure. So yeah, pretty much last night, like at 12 o'clock, time was like online. He's like, oh, I'm not going to make the event. And then like 20 minutes later, he's like, oh, I'm on a flight right now, but he's not going to be until like 9 o'clock today. So it was originally looking like we were going to play at like 10:30 tonight, which would have been like super late. But now they've pushed the match to tomorrow, which I guess is all right for us. They gave us like a couple different options, and we didn't want to like screw over Envious. Like we wanted to play them like at their full strength. So the best option was just push it back, which gives us an extra day of practice, which is kind of good because we haven't really been able to try most of like the symmetric changes and everything yet. So it's a bad situation overall, but it's probably the best outcome that we could have got.
And of course for Envious as well, it's a great outcome for them because otherwise
Yeah.
it was looking like, like they weren't even going to be able to make their match or something. So just to pick up on what you said there in terms of like being able to look at the recent patch and the changes that have just come in. So you've been competing at DreamHack, and then you were competing in the NGE, and now you're competing here. How much of an off time have you had in between these things to actually get to grips with what's going on?
Not a lot. So yeah, after DreamHack, which was I think 3 weeks ago now, we had like a day or two off, and then we started practicing because we knew both MLG, and the winter premiere were coming up. The bigger issue was that we knew the new patch was going to be coming out before MLG, but not before their winter premiere. So we had to try and split our practice because obviously we wanted to try out on PTR some of the changes like Symmetra and all that, but we also knew we had to focus on qualifying for the other tournament. So it was pretty bad with all of that, and we're not quite, I don't think really any of the teams are as practiced as they could be, but that's where kind of having the extra day today, since we had to push our match back, gives us like that last minute practice where we can try out some different things. And we've still been able to try out most of the stuff. We have some new strats down, so we're looking forward to it.
The newest patch with the Symmetra changes and the small adjustment to Zarya's bubbles isn't like a huge rework of a lot of different heroes, apart from that one Symmetra hero. So how much of an impact do you think that actually is going to make in the grander scheme of things?
I think Symmetra will definitely see some more play than she did before. You'll see her ran probably like on Hollywood first defense or maps like that. Other than that, the Zarya change is actually, I wouldn't even call it a nerf, it's more of a change, because if you like shield a Reinhardt now and he's fighting the enemy Reinhardt, it used to be where one swing would get rid of the bubble. So as a Zarya, it'd be okay because you get 40 energy, but it would only protect the Reinhardt from one swing. But now it can protect against 2 swings, so it'll actually make him like extra tanky in fights. So it's a buff in some ways, a nerf in others. I can't see it having that much of an impact. I still think Zarya is going to be insanely strong. I've actually been enjoying playing her a lot more lately. She can just put out insane damage. And other than that, I think there's like a Torbjorn change, but I think Torbjorn's bad. I think NRG thinks Torbjorn's godly, but you might see him come out also like on Hollywood first defense or something like that.
You're a team that tends to pick up on the changes and try and work them in like we saw the Sombra come in as part of like as a staple part of your attack in a DreamHack Winter. So is this something that you look at the patch notes and you think with your team, how can we integrate this stuff, or is it just stuff you stumble upon? What's the thought process when you see these changes and try and integrate them into your play?
So it pretty much is that we look at the patch notes, and then we're always willing to try out everything in scrims. There's some teams who scrim to try and win every scrim, and that's just a bad attitude to have. You should be going to scrims to try out certain things, see what works, see what doesn't work, and then try and take all that away from it. So Sombra was one of those things where we looked at her and we're like, okay, if there's like a lot of shields or that sort of thing, how Sombra can like just take those down instantly and open up a push. So that's where we worked her in some. She's not a perma-run for us anymore. Like going into DreamHack, pretty much all of our offense, we were betting on Sombra. It's like, okay, we're gonna run Sombra and this has to work. Now we have like 3 or 4 different strats that we have. So it's gonna be hard for any team to try and counter us. Because I think at DreamHack, after the first couple matches, a lot of teams knew that we were going to run Sombra, but now we might not have been player. It depends on how we're feeling, what's looking good. So, but yeah, we try and test out like really every hero and see what works.
How did you feel about your DreamHack Winter performance? It was interrupted a little bit by the first day and how many times you had to replay the map, and I guess that didn't help with other people figuring out your Sombra strat as well. But how did you feel overall about your performance there?
I guess it was okay. I think we know we could have won that event. We had scrimmed the Misfits a couple times during it and beat them every scrim. Just come playing them in the tournament, they did a couple things they hadn't done scrims, and they just played really well. So, I mean, we still got like third or fourth, so we're still okay with it, but we're really looking for like that event win. And with how our practice has been lately, going into like this event and during the winter premiere, it's felt really good. So I'd say this is the most confident we've been going into one.
In the winter premiere, you had 3 attempts to be able to qualify for it, and you made it on the 3rd attempt. You guys won that one. What were your experiences like during that event? Obviously, it's online; it's not an offline qualifier. So, what were you guys thinking going into it, and are you satisfied with the end performance of it?
So it was actually one of the best things that could have happened to us, because the first one we lost to a team called like Kungarna or something, who they ran just 4 tanks, or they ran 3 tank soldier. And after that day, that's where we really re-looked at everything we were doing, and we're like, because up until that we were just running full-time Hog, full-time like Diva and everything like that. But after that we're like, okay, it seems like every team's running this. What could be a counter to this? And that's where we then started testing out a couple different things that we used in the following 2 qualifiers, and that were really effective. So it was actually one of the best things that could have happened to us with that. And you know, the extra practice we had competing that. It's always different competing like in a tournament than it is like in scrims. Like in scrims, like I said, teams normally try out different things. But when you're playing them like in a qualifier for a $100,000 league, you know everyone's trying their hardest. So it's that extra practice in a tournament setting that was actually really helpful also. So we're definitely satisfied with the results, being one of the teams to qualify, not just off of points, but on winning actually. And you know, qualifying over some other great teams like MLG FaZe, that sort of stuff. So we're happy with it.
People tend to talk about your team a little bit in terms of inconsistency. It's a label that keeps getting applied to complexity. Do you think it's a fair label, and if not, why?
I wouldn't say we're any more inconsistent than some of the other teams. Like, obviously we're not at the same level of consistency yet as like Fnatic, who's had like multiple semifinals, or Envious. But outside of that, you know, like FaZe, who people always think is really good, didn't qualify for the winter premiere. And then like really any other team, Liquid, like NRG, like they all have their same ups and downs. So I think when we're at our peak, we can definitely beat any team in the game. And really the only time I think we were in a big slump was right around E-League. That's where we unfortunately did qualify for that one. But after that, we brought in Raptors as a coach, and he's actually, I think, helped us get that consistency, because that was like at our lowest point. But since then, we go into every day of practice knowing what we're going to work on, how we're going to do it, and it's helped us a lot. And I think, as we've shown over the past couple months since then, we're hitting our stride, and we've kind of been able to have a string of good 3rd, 4ths, and hopefully finally get a nice 1st place at this one.
So talking about this event then, MLG Vegas, you've got what most people would consider the more difficult group of the 2. You've got Envious, Fnatic, and Rise Nation in there as well. How do you feel about the group?
I think we do have definitely the harder group, but we definitely are, and I'm not just saying this, like we are actually confident going into it. Envious, we have no idea how good Envious is going to be. They've been in Korea for like 2 months, so if Koreans are as good as they say, then we expect them to be strong, but like we have no frame of reference with them really. And then for Fnatic, we've actually, I don't think ever played Fnatic in a tournament setting, but we match up really well against them, so we feel really confident against them. And I know Fnatic also had some struggles in the winter premiere. They only qualified through on points. They lost to like Immortals and then a couple other teams that they would normally beat. So we're pretty confident against them. And then Rise, we know we can't overlook Rise. Like they are still definitely a good team, but I think they're, you know, probably most people would agree the weaker team in the group. So it's definitely, I'd say, a harder group than Group B, but we're confident we can make it out. And then after group stage, it's just, you know, one team at a time. Whoever we match up against, we just go from there. But obviously our first goal is to make it out of groups first.
Okay, good luck for that goal, and good luck for the whole event,
Thank you.